Hey y'all, what's going on? This is Jesse Boats in the 19th hole, and I'm here to do the rookie guide for you all today. During this guide, we'll talk about holes 1 through 9, different ways to play each hole, different clubs that you may want to bring, what balls may help you all out in the course, and maybe what kind of elevation changes that you may face. This is for the Winter Slopes Tournament, which starts on Monday, January 7th, 2019. Welcome to the new year, all. Hopefully you all had a good Christmas time. Hopefully you all had a good New Year's. Hopefully your college football team won, didn't choke like Mississippi State. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started. We got hole number 1. Now these are all holes that we've seen before. So if it is, this is going to be more of a refresher for you. If these are newer holes to you, maybe you're new in the game, you've never seen these holes played in the tournament, then this video may benefit you a little bit more than someone that's just getting the refresher. Alright, so we got hole number 1. This is a par 3. Basically, there are 2 landing spots that I see people play on this hole. The first one being, more in this zone here. I prefer to play a landing zone somewhere in this area right here. And no matter which landing zone you play, your goal is to get your ball to go up and along the top edge of the green and down to the cup. Okay, so it's pretty much the same technique, just different landing spots. So whichever one works best for you is the one that I encourage you to use. I prefer the second one a little bit more because it gives you a little bit more leeway in case you hit great to the left. Could definitely possibly put you in the rough if you use that back left one. As far as club selection in the rookie, a quarterback or extra mile will be the clubs that you use, whichever one of those you do like the most. I will probably use the quarterback for this shot. We will be playing a 20% additional change for the elevation downhill shot over water. So when you find that wind, you want to add an additional 20% extra to that wind before you make the adjustment for your shot. I like the quasar ball for this shot. I like a little bit of side spin abilities. And for my shot, which is the second shot up, I go about 1 to 2 bars of top spin and somewhere up to 2 bars of left spin. So you may have to judge that. Maybe the more left spin you put, the more curl you're going to use on your shot. I like to go with the 2 top spin, 2 left spin, and then I use about 2/3 of a ball of curl. And basically what that means is when I curl to the right, the ball does not totally leave that far right bar, so it kind of still stays connected to that. So 2/3 of a ball of curl to the right for that shot. Sometimes when I make my initial setup, the trajectory of my ball guide may be pointing up, maybe up towards this rough area up here. But when you add the curl into the shot, factor the curl in, it will change the trajectory of your ball and give you that nice roll on the top of the green and hopefully give you that nice curl down to the pin for the ace. So that's how you play hole number 1. And we'll move on to hole number 2. Alright, so we got hole 2 here. And hole 2 is a par 4. This is a hole 2, par 4, that is definitely eagleable. Definitely a hole that you need to eagle in the tournament if you want to compete for a top spot. And the way that I like to do that is I like to use the quarterback. We do play a 10% adjustment on this shot as well for the downhill. Now, if you're going to use the quarterback, you want to use at least probably, I would say, a quarterback 6 plus for this shot, because you do want to have at least 3 bars of topspin for this shot. I prefer to have 3 to 4 bars of topspin, but 3 bars will work on this shot. And basically what you do is your landing zone will be somewhere in this area right here. That's where your hop will be. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to land it in the rough right here. And then with that topspin, your ball will roll out onto the green. So if you are going to play the hop shot, as I call it, the hop shot, do keep in mind that your adjustment for your quarterback will be at a min adjustment. So if we get some sort of a headwind, that may not be a good shot to use. But if you get a nice side wind or a smaller, kind of like a side tailwind, then we'll definitely be able to make the adjustment on that shot and be okay as far as, not being in between clubs. I would definitely say go with the Navigator or the Quasar for that shot. You may even have to drop it down to a Marlin ball if you are getting too close to being in between clubs, so definitely keep that in mind when you are practicing this hole. So kind of like, just be aware of that. Now, the other option to play would be if you want to play how I call it, the bump shot. The bump shot. And I'm going to erase what we see here and start all over. You're still playing plus 10% on this shot, but the bump shot would be more of an extra mile shot, and you may need to upgrade your ball to Quasar, maybe even a Titan ball for this shot, depending on the level of your clubs. But basically what you're doing is you're taking your tee shot in the air all the way to this rough section right there. And playing that shot right there, you're going to be using about 2 to 3 bars of top spin and 1 to 2 bars of right spin. So first and foremost, you want your ball to kick out of that rough towards the green, and then you're going to use that side spin to kind of hopefully direct that shot towards the hole. Now you got to pay careful attention because the wind that you get may affect the type of spin that you put on the ball. If you have a left to right wind, you definitely don't want to use as much spin because the ball is already going to be kind of being pushed to that left to right trajectory. But I don't think it will hurt to put a little bit of spin on the shot no matter what, and give you a really good chance at the possible hole-in-one. It's happened before, but you definitely want to make sure to put yourself in position for that eagle on this hole. There is another shot that people use to the far left, but I don't think playing from the first tee in the rookie, we will have a type of wind, and you won't have a type of ball clubs to make that shot possible. So the rookie play is either going to be the hop shot or the bump shot. So moving on, we got hole 3, and this is our first par 5 of the tournament. And it can be a fairly difficult par 5 if you don't know how to play it correctly. We will be playing a plus 20% for our wind adjustment here. This is a fairly steep downhill shot from the tee box. I'd say completely forget about the right side. There's no reason to play it to the right side. I like to use the extra mile on this hole, and in the rookie you want to bring your big dog for your second shot as well, because you want to have that extra distance from that wood for your second shot. You could possibly use a quarterback off this tee, but keep in mind you will most likely have to overpower your shot to use that quarterback. So if you feel confident with that, a quarterback may be a decent play on this hole as well, with the accuracy that it possesses. Basically what you're aiming for is a bounce somewhere in that area right there. Okay. To play this shot, you do want a ball with a lot of side spin. So I would definitely say going with a Titan ball or Katana ball would be your play. You will use the full top spin. You will use the full right spin. If you have a left to right wind, if we have a wind facing something like this, you won't have to use as much right curl. But if we have more of a straight wind or a right to left wind, you will want to put more curl into your shot to counter the effects of that wind pushing your ball from right to left, because you want to use that top spin and right spin to push your ball over this bunker, land it somewhere in here, and continue the bounce and the roll through the fairway to about there. And that's what you will achieve if you set that shot up correctly and use the correct spin and curl for that shot. So your second shot will be with your big dog. Basically what you're doing is you're aiming your shot for in this area right here. It's kind of a hill that slopes up, and it's kind of like the end of a ski jump, where the jump goes up and then the skier goes zoom straight off the end. Well, this is kind of like that. You're aiming for the top of that jump, and that's basically where that red dot is. So from there with the big dog, a normal play would be about 1 bar of topspin, because you're trying to get your shot to land on the second bounce somewhere right in there. Okay, so bounce 1, bounce 2. Now this is where it gets tricky, and this is where you have to make a decision. How much right spin do you want to put on this shot? The more right spin you put on this shot, the more risky of a shot it becomes, because then you start getting this rough in play when you start using more right spin, especially if you mishit a great right or something like that on the shot. But the payoff is the more spin you use, the better chance you have for that ball's trajectory to be more towards the hole for a possible albatross. So this is a very rare albatross hole. So if you can figure out a way to get the albatross in this hole, it's definitely going to be huge for your tournament play. I suggest about 1 bar of topspin and a couple bars of right spin. Do want to keep in mind that these trees right here are in play. So if you do try to use some right curl off your off your second shot, do make sure that you have enough room to get by these trees, because I have seen people use right curl and end up hitting those trees. If that happens, your ball ends up bouncing somewhere in this zone right here, and you're really in trouble. You go from playing for an eagle to playing for a birdie on this hole. All right, so that's hole 3. Move on to hole 4. And this is one of those par 3s that I believe last time we had this hole, I said if you hit the ace, it may be time to go to the casino. This is definitely one of those holes where you take your birdie and be happy with it. If you play it just perfectly correct, though, you may be able to get the ace. In the rookie, we play it with a plus 10% adjustment for overwater and downhill. And I would say go with either a Viper if you don't have a Sniper. If you don't have a Guardian, you got to go with a Viper. If you have a Sniper, you can use a Sniper. If you have a Guardian, you can use a Guardian on this hole. I think the Guardian may be the overall best play for this hole as far as safeness goes. But if you're going to use the Viper or the Sniper, you're going to be aiming your shot from somewhere down here in this bottom left corner of that fairway. The slope here is fairly uphill to the green, and basically what you want to use is about 2 to 3 bars of backspin, and then use right spin as needed. So basically your shot will bounce over, you'll land somewhere in this zone right here, and hopefully roll to the hole on your shot. Now if we have a right to left wind for some reason, you may want to use a little bit of right curl to kind of counteract that wind to this hole. So we'll just have to wait and see what kind of wind we get in the tournament to determine what kind of curl, if any, we need to use. But for a basic adjustment, somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 bars of backspin, and then we're going to use our side spin to straighten that ball path out a little bit more towards the hole, or at least into some sort of a trajectory towards the hole. All right, if you're going to play with a Guardian shot, you'll play your Guardian shot a little bit farther up here towards the hole. You'll use pretty much your full backspin, maybe a little left spin, and you probably, if it's a newer Guardian, you won't have that great of a ball guide. So it's kind of like a little bit of guesswork goes into this one if you do decide to use the Guardian. All right, hole 5. And hole 5 is a par 5. Hole 5 is a par 5. This is actually one of the holes that I really do enjoy in the game. It's a fun hole. It's definitely a good hole where you have a good chance of getting the albatross. And there's 2 different ways to play your shot off the tee. First, I'm going to talk about the normal way that most people will play, and that's with the extra mile. And they will be going to land their shot right about where that dot is on the screen. And you will play this one with a plus 10% adjustment off the tee box as well. I would say that shot is more of a Titan ball shot because you want that extra power. You don't have to overpower your tee shot on this hole. you want to use a very nice, easy, regular power shot to make that shot. So I would, for that reason, go with a Titan ball to give you that extra length to make sure you guarantee a non-overpowered shot. I would guess we get some sort of tailwind on this hole in the rookie. So full topspin and some right spin would take your shot this way, put you somewhere in there, and that's the way you would play that shot right there. And that is the regular way that people play this hole. Now, the way I like to play this hole, I like to play it with a quarterback and either a quasar or a Titan ball, depending on the wind that we get. What I want to do is I want to land my shot to land somewhere right in here, and we will be using the power curl method. So basically, you got to go to golfclashnotebook.io. If you go to their slicing power hook shot method area, you can look at the chart and see what kind of driver you're going to use, and then what adjustment number coincides with your club. So for me, let's just say I was using a driver like the Thor. Okay, the Thor. We'll just say Thor 4. We'll just say Thor 4 because it has a 15 ring adjustment on it. What I would do is I'd aim my shot using the middle part of my bullseye, and then whatever type of wind I had, I would just eyeball the adjustment for that wind, whatever direction that wind is off the middle. And then from there, I would adjust 15 rings left. I would power curl to the right, and then slice hook right. And basically the shot will look something like this. Hit there, bounce off, and get you a pretty good roll down the hole. I'll try to put some videos up of that shot just so you all can see it a little bit more clearly visually. Sometimes it's easier to see something visually than just hear it, from the mouth. So for the second shot, you have an opportunity to go for the rough bump or a shot more towards the back of the green with backspin. I think in the rookie, the rough bump is more of the logical shot to take. So what you're basically doing is you're laying your shot right up here on the that rough area right in front of the green, most likely with like a backbone, and you'll use a couple bars of topspin. You'll aim the ball guide of your shot just through the hole, and then you will adjust for your wind, hopefully hit a perfect and get that albatross. But that's the best way to get the albatross with the rough bump in the rookie. If you want to try a shot where you use a lot of backspin, you will aim your shot more up towards the back right edge of the screen with full backspin. Most likely it'll be like a Saturn or something like that, and you will use your full backspin. Hopefully you can get that perfect groove back to the hole and get it to roll in for the albatross. All right, so that's hole number 5. Hole number 6, par 4. This is a hole that we recently have had in a previous tournament. We play a plus 5% adjustment off the tee box on this one. You can use your extra mile, which is what I'll probably use. And basically you're aiming your shot to land somewhere in here. Roll up the fairway to this this kind of like a ridge, like a top of the ridge area. To do that, I like to use about 3 to 4 bars of topspin and 2 to 3 bars of right spin. And that's with a tailwind. I really doubt we're going to get any kind of a headwind on this hole in the rookie. But if we do, the only difference in adjustment you would make is add a little bit more topspin. So tailwind, which is most likely the type of wind we'll get, somewhere between 3 to 4 bars of topspin, and then use a little bit of right spin as well to keep that shot away from that left area of the bunker and rough. So for your second shot to the green, you'll be taking this shot with either a Viper or a Sniper. And this is actually an uphill shot. So you will play this one with actually a minus 10% adjustment. So you will actually take away wind value from this shot I know some people in the last tournament just played it at a 1-to-1 adjustment with like the sniper, but I would definitely recommend just factoring in that minus 10% adjustment to the wind before you do adjust for your shot on that one. For that second shot, I would say somewhere about 3 to 4 bars of backspin and 2 to 4 bars of left spin, depending on how you want to play the shot. The best way to play it is I like pretty much full back, full left. You'll aim the tip of the ball guide just over the fringe and the green area and try to get that ball guide pointed toward the hole as best as possible and just hopefully get that lucky bounce and roll to the hole. All right, so hole number 7 is next. And this is a par 3. And this is another hole that we've recently had as well. Plus 10% off the tee box for this shot. You'll use probably your backbone or Goliath, depending on the ball that you use and the wind that we get. If you want to use your backbone, I would definitely suggest going with a little bit higher level of a power ball, just so that you do have that extra distance for the shot and don't find yourself stuck in between clubs. If you want to just avoid that altogether, go with a little bit higher distance long iron, kind of like the Goliath. That will definitely help you there. The adjustment for this one is aiming your shot somewhere in here, and you're going to go with about 1.5 to 2 bars of backspin. In the end, you want your second hop to be right there at the top of that fringe green fairway area. It's kind of like a little hill. You don't want to hit on the front part of the hill. You don't want to hit on the back part of the hill. You want to hit just on the top part of the hill, get that little skid off the hill into the hole. So hopefully you can do that and you can figure that shot out and get you definitely a possible chance at the ace on this hole. Moving on to hole number 8. And hole number 8 is a par 4. Now, the way we play this hole will be very, very dependent on the type of wind that we get. If we get a tailwind, it's very easy to tell you what we'll play it. We will play our shot to land over here. You're definitely going to want to use a Titan ball for this shot. If you have an extra mile, like 5 and above, you can use that. Otherwise, a big topper may be a good choice on this hole. And for that reason, you definitely want to use a Titan ball. This is a plus 10% adjustment on the shot. And you want to use a driver with at least 5+ rings of adjustment. Because what you're doing is off this tee shot, you're bouncing right here. You're bouncing over the water, landing in the rough, and hopefully with that top spin that you have used, you'll roll through the rough onto the green for an easy eagle putt, possibly a hole-in-one. And that is if we have any kind of a tailwind or like a side-ish tailwind. Now, if we get some sort of a headwind on this hole, or like a straight right to left, left to right headwind, then we will have to play a different approach on this hole. If we do get that, we will have to play to the left side over here, where you land your tee shot over this way. You'll still play a plus 10% on the tee shot there, and you'll use about 2 bars of topspin to bounce over the rough and bunker. Hopefully roll your shot up into this top left area of the fairway, and from there that'll give you the best and straightest path to the hole for a possible chip-in eagle. Now for the second shot, you will want to play that shot also as a downhill shot, about plus 10%, and that's normally going to be like a thorn or a hornet shot to the hole. The shot on the right-hand side, I got this a little bit mixed up. The shot on the right-hand side is playing a little bit more than 10% probably. I would adjust in the neighborhood of 15 to 20%, probably more towards that 15 mark, just to be sure. on that shot. So forget the 10, and we'll put 15 to 20. I'm not 100% sure exactly on the numbers for that, but it does definitely play a little bit more than 10%, I would say. I'm not quite sure if it gets to 20, so we'll say 15 just to be safe is the good mark to play. But if you still feel like you need a little bit extra adjustment, you can definitely try out that 20% over the 15%. All right, and do keep in mind you definitely want to use Titan ball for this hole and that shot if you go to the right side. Okay, so our last and final hole. Of course, we messed up the last one. All right, hole 9, and this is a par 5. You definitely want to bring your extra mile and your long wood. So your big dog is definitely your best club of choice for this hole, and power 3 ball. So Titan ball would definitely be good for this hole as well, or maybe even power 4 ball if you find that the Titan ball isn't enough. So plus 10% on the drive. Hopefully we get a nice tailwind because off the tee box we really do want to land our shot over this bunker, somewhere to this zone right here, and roll our tee shot out to about that front left quadrant. The farther left we can get that shot, the easier it makes it for our second shot to the green. Okay, if you end up more over back in this area, it's a much longer and harder shot to the green. Probably will require some sort of an overpower shot and a lot more topspin that we want to really use. So try to do your best to get to that front left quadrant. The way you'll do that is left spin and top spin, but you do want to be very careful when you're using that top spin that you don't use too much, because if you use too much top spin on that shot, you can roll through the fairway and into the rough. So the amount of top spin we use may be dependent on the type of wind direction that we have and the strength of wind that we have. I think in the last tournament when I had this hole, I played a full left and 3 topspin, and that was pretty accurate and pretty consistent for me, and set me up for definitely a very makeable second shot to the green. But we may need to change that, tweak that just a bit. But like I said, it'll depend on the type of wind that we see on Monday. Now, depending on the kind of wind, we also may need to use some curl for this shot. So if we have a wind more like this, we're not going to use as much curl. If we have more of a straight wind like this, or a side wind, a tailwind pushing from left to right, we're definitely going to use more left curl, because if we don't, our ball will be pushed out into this area somewhere over here instead of the area over here, which we want. So pay attention to the winds, and then decide on what kind of curl you need to use once you see what kind of wind that we get. Okay, right to left wind, we won't need as much curl. Straight tailwind or left to right tailwind, we definitely want to incorporate more curl into that shot off the tee box. So for our second shot to the green, hopefully we're in this farther top left area. From there, we can go with a shot that basically hops right there. Now, depending on the matureness of your big dog, you may be able to hop straight to the green. In that situation, you're going to use backspin to stop the ball. If your big dog isn't as mature, you may need to hit this rough right here with a little bit of topspin and roll onto the green. So it's 2 different scenarios right there for your second shot. If you see that you can hop straight from fairway to green, you're going to want to use a little bit of backspin. If you feel like you're not going to have the distance to make that hop, then you want to make sure to land your second hop in the rough with a little bit of topspin. All right. Well, thank you all very much, ladies and gentlemen, for hanging out with me for this rookie guide. Not as much energy for me. Still dealing with some shoulder issues. Nerve pain is causing quite a bit of discomfort in my arm, and that's part of the reason why I didn't get this done last night, and it held off till today. But thank you all for hanging out. I will be releasing the note guide and the blank note guide / handoff sheets as well in the 19th hole. So if you want the file version of those, definitely go to the 19th hole. I will be spreading some of those versions to other communities around Golf Clash as well. But if you want access to all of the different formats, we have the note sheet, the straight note sheet, which is just all 9 holes on one sheet of paper. We have these sheets here that have 3 holes per sheet, like this, a little bit bigger images, a little bit more area to write your notes in. And then we also have the full page, 1 hole per page note sheet, which gives you so much room to write down different types of shots that you may consider, and a lot more information. So we have all that accessible on the 19th hole in file format, also photo format, and we'll have some of those formats available on different communities as well. So if you are a member of some of these other communities, definitely keep your eyes open for that. If you don't see them, come on over to the 19th hole, hit that joining button, answer a few questions. We'll get you in there and get you access to those sheets. So thank you all very much for your time, and hopefully you all had a great Christmas and a Happy New Year to you all, and good luck in the tournament, and we'll see you all later.